Hi, I'm Robin. I'm a lymphedema therapist at Royal Prince Alfred Hospital with an occupational therapy background. Um, I have been treating lymphedema for almost 20 years. It's an area that I have loved working in. Um, I'm always learning, never get bored doing lymphedema. Um, and because there is always something to learn, it's spurred me on to go and do research. And maybe 10 years ago, I started at Sydney University with my master's, gone on to do PhD, and I have a research fellowship now. Um, and there's a lot I could say about that research, but I'm going to skip straight to the end game, which is a clinic support system called Lymbase. It is a digital platform which has been, it's evolved from the research. It has been designed by clinicians for clinicians, and I'd like to share that with you today. The motivation for me for developing Lymbase was my own frustration as a clinician. Uh, I really value being able to take objective measures, uh, and I think they're important because we know that our memory of what a limb, what a body part looked like 6 months ago is not going to be reliable. But also, the research tells us that patients are only moderately reliable at reporting size change, and it means that we really do need objective measures to show whether or not our the treatment that we're recommending is having the effect desired. Because what we're asking for at the end of the day is creating a burden uh, to the patient. They need to know that it's worthwhile. And so I think that's what Lymbase does well, is that it makes use of the assessment data that we take. So it takes treatment time, takes time away from our patients to do that assessment, that objective assessment. But Lymbase makes it a bit simpler. It makes it more useful. Um, and so I think in doing that, we improve patient treatment adherence. They can see changes over time. They can see that things improve when they are diligent with compression use, for example. Um, Not so great when they're not wearing compression. So it's great for patient buy-in. Okay, so the best way to access the platform, especially for the first time, is through the website, www.lymbase.com. You'll see it has explainer videos, it has a contact form if you've got any queries, and there's a login point. So Lymbase has been designed with new therapists in mind, and it provides a really nice structure to guide beginning practitioners. It helps uh, with being able to access historic data. So maybe what compression garments have been used in the past, for example. As I mentioned, it provides a visual representation of change over time. Um, One of the goals of having this system is that we will create a de-identified data set, which can then be used for research purposes. And so if you're wanting to get onto the system, you would first need to register yourself as a therapist, and then register the clinic that you work at. Um, and I'd really recommend that you go and give that a go now. As soon as the video is finished, why don't you register yourself? Just have a play with the platform, and see whether or not it might work for you. So once you've registered, you're probably going to want to start adding patients. And so let's look at how you do that. If you click Add Patient, there are some mandatory fields for the registration, uh, and they're indicated by a red asterisk. Importantly, you need informed consent from the patient so they know their data will be stored and may be used for research purposes. There's no on-selling of the data. The patients won't be re-identifiable once they're in the data set. It will only be used for lymphedema research, and with a governance system to make sure that it's used ethically. So in addition to the mandatory fields, There is the opportunity to do a full assessment, and all of the fields that are here in the patient registration have been informed by clinical practice by other lymphedema therapists. So once you've registered your patient, it's time to start adding a session. Step one is your evaluation of the patient experience. You want to know, what is your experience at the moment, or what are your symptoms? If you want to, you can also add a rating of the severity and intensity of the symptoms that are reported. The other thing we want our patients to rate is how they think they're going with their self-management program. It is a blunt instrument, but helpful if you're evaluating the effectiveness of what's been prescribed. The next step is what has been observed and palpated. And that informs the staging of the lymphedema. So basically, we're just selecting terms to describe what you see and what you feel. And if there are terms that aren't listed here, you can just add them in. If there are comments you want to make about where you see those changes, you can add them into the free text section. Anything that you add here gets added to the session report. In the circumference measurement tab, you can select the interval difference, and it will perform a number of calculations on your behalf. The between limb circumference difference, the limb volume, and the interlimb difference as a percentage. If you add the height in the patient registration page, Lymbase will calculate the BMI whenever you add the weight. We then move on to the landmark measures, and these are the measures that we take when we're doing a compression garment prescription. And finally, you have the opportunity to add the treatment that you provided. If you want to, you can document a treatment plan for the patient, and you can add progress notes at the end. Lymbase is designed so that you just use the functions that are necessary for you. It needs to fit with your clinic workflow, and so it's been designed so that you can do that. The other important function of Lymbase is the compression garment search engine for off-the-shelf compression garments. And Haddenham Healthcare have been incredibly generous in supporting the development of Lymbase. And the garment search currently has all of Haddenham's compression garment wear wraps, comfy wave, and sleeves and stockings. We're very excited that Essity and Tawan are also coming on board this year, and we hope that we'll have all of the compression garment companies that are on health contract in Australia to make it a much more useful platform in the future. You can also create the order using the compression garment search. And so it just really simplifies the current method, which is looking through an awful lot of catalogues to find what's going to fit for your patient. So I really want to emphasize that Lymbase is free. There is no cost to you to use Lymbase. The development and maintenance of the platform is paid for by the compression garment companies that are in the search engine. And so there's no cost to you, there's no cost to your patients. I also want to address data security because it is rightly a concern for everyone. And it's certainly a concern for Lymbase. We've taken measures to ensure that it is as secure as we can make it. So multi-factor authentication, although it's a bit time consuming, is vital in that. And yeah, I want you to feel secure that you can use it and trust that your patient's data will be safe and secure. And I hope you will consider using it. And I hope you enjoy being lymphedema therapists. You will never be bored again. Thanks for your time. Bye.